You are not afraid of failure, you are afraid of greatness, not because you don't want it, but because deep down you know what it will cost. Your comfort, your excuses, your identity, all of it. Nietzsche didn't ask you to improve, he demanded that you become. To tear yourself away from the smallness you've been trained to love, to kill the safe self, to walk alone into the mountain of your own becoming and scream into the void until it echoes back, "You are more than this." But that path is terrifying, because becoming isn't just about adding more. It's about shedding everything that made you feel safe, your roles, your reputation, your wounds. And so you sabotage, you stall, you say, "I'm not ready." But the truth is, you are not afraid of not being enough. You are afraid that you are far more than you're willing to admit. Why you resist your own power? There is a power in you so wild, so radiant, that to fully unleash it would tear through the walls of your carefully constructed life. And so, you resist it. You tone yourself down. You second-guess your instincts. You surround yourself with people who do not challenge you because they don't threaten the version of you that feels manageable. Nietzsche believed that man resists power, not because he is weak, but because he is attached to who he thinks he is. And if you were to claim your full strength, it would destroy your current self-image. To step into power is to become a stranger to your past, and most people would rather die as someone they recognize than live as someone they have yet to meet. The fear of becoming bigger than your story. You have a story about who you are. Maybe you're the anxious one, the survivor, the misunderstood genius, the one who almost made it. These stories give you identity, and identity gives you safety. But Nietzsche's hammer breaks these stories. He knew that clinging to identity is the root of stagnation, because if you are only your story, then your story will limit you forever. To grow is to betray your narrative, to outgrow it, to say, "I am no longer that person, I refuse to be defined by old pain." But this is terrifying, because what if your story is the only thing holding you together? What if freedom means letting go of you? How comfort becomes a cage. Comfort isn't peace, it's sedation. You don't sabotage because you're lazy. You sabotage because you've confused comfort with safety, and safety with love. Nietzsche warned that modern man would be lulled to sleep not by war, but by comfort. He called it the last man, the one who seeks pleasure, avoids risk, and mistakes numbness for happiness. And this is you sometimes. You stay in the job that drains you. You stay in the relationship that shrinks you. You cling to the routine that kills you slowly because it's familiar. But comfort is a velvet coffin, and the longer you lie in it, the harder it is to remember that you once had wings. You were not born to be safe. You were born to be alive. The ego's alliance with mediocrity. There is a secret alliance within you, between your ego and your mediocrity. The ego doesn't want you to succeed. It wants to survive. It wants to be right. It wants to protect the fragile identity it has spent years constructing. And if that means playing small, so be it. Nietzsche believed the ego was the great deceiver, the one who tells you that you're just being realistic, that it's not the right time, that you don't have what it takes. But those are not truths, they are defenses. Your ego fears your potential because it would no longer be in control. Your greatness would expose its lies. Your success would mean it must die. And so it whispers, better to fail safely than to risk transformation. But now, you know, the saboteur is not outside you, it is inside you. And the war for your future begins not with strategy, but with a death. The death of the small self, the birth of who you were always meant to be, how failure protects you from change. You think failure hurts, but sometimes it comforts you, because as long as you fail, you don't have to change. You don't have to face the unfamiliar. You don't have to rewrite your life, your patterns, your relationships. Nietzsche saw this clearly. Failure becomes a hiding place, a shield against the terrifying force of becoming. You say, I tried, but deep down you didn't. Not fully. You left escape hatches open. You held back. Why? Because real success, real transformation would demand that you become unrecognizable to the version of you who once survived. And that's frightening, That version kept you alive, even if they also kept you small. So you fail, not because you can't succeed, but because success would make the old you obsolete, and ego would rather die slowly than be erased suddenly. The secret reward of staying small. Every sabotage has a secret payoff. When you procrastinate, you don't have to risk rejection. When you isolate, you don't have to confront betrayal. When you underachieve, you don't have to outshine the people who expect your failure. Nietzsche would call this the hidden economy of the psyche, a trade between potential and protection. You sabotage because staying small gives you control. It allows you to manage others' expectations, avoid envy, dodge pressure. It keeps you invisible in a world that demands performance. But that invisibility, it's not freedom, it's exile. And every time you shrink, you betray the part of you that longs to be seen, not just by others, but by yourself. The reward of playing small is comfort, but the cost is your life. Shame as a false compass. There is a whisper inside you that says, "I'm not enough," and you followed it like a compass. Every decision, every hesitation, every failure, quietly directed by shame. Nietzsche detested shame-based morality. He saw it as a tool of the weak to control the strong, a psychological leash. And now, it's wrapped around your will. You don't sabotage because you're broken. You sabotage because shame told you you're not allowed to win. If you succeed, who will you outgrow? If you shine, who will envy you? If you rise, who will reject you? Shame convinces you that greatness is dangerous, that humility means shrinking, that loyalty means limiting yourself. But shame is a liar dressed as conscience. Your true compass is not shame. It is vision. It is hunger. It is the quiet fire that says, "I'm here for more," when doubt becomes a ritual. There is a ritual you perform daily, silently, religiously. You doubt yourself. You doubt your timing, your voice, your worth, your next step. You call it being thoughtful, being realistic, but really it's a sedative, a trance. Nietzsche called doubt the product of internal division, a soul at war with itself. Part of you wants to rise, part of you wants to stay hidden, and so you doubt endlessly, hoping clarity will come. But doubt is not clarity. Doubt is comfort. It allows you to stay in motion without commitment, to appear like you're striving without ever threatening the status quo. And it works for a while, but the cost is this. You never step into your future. You never act from conviction. You tiptoe through life, worshipping caution like a god. And one day you look back and realize you were capable of everything, and you chose nothing. So let this be your moment of rebellion. Let the ritual die. Let the fire rise. Let doubt burn. And from its ashes, may your next step come not from safety, but from truth. The will to power versus the will to hide. Nietzsche's philosophy hinges on one terrifying, liberating idea: the will to power. It is not about control, not domination. It is about intensifying your existence, becoming so fully you that no lie, no mask, no inherited script can contain you. But most people do not obey this will. They obey the opposite, the will to hide. You hide behind self-doubt. You hide behind perfectionism. You hide behind the comfort of mediocrity, all while calling it humility, balance, reason. But the truth, you're afraid of your own light. Nietzsche's question remains: what would happen if you stopped hiding? What friends would you lose? What illusions would burn? What parts of you would have to die? The inner saboteur is not afraid of failure. It's afraid of your fullness. Because once you taste it, there's no going back. How you betray your potential every day. Betrayal doesn't always come with drama. Sometimes it comes with silence. Every time you delay what matters, every time you ignore your intuition, every time you laugh at your dream and call it crazy, that's betrayal. You betray your potential when you make yourself digestible, when you dilute your passion to fit into rooms not meant for you, when you trade vision for validation. Nietzsche saw this as the greatest tragedy of the modern soul. Not that we are evil, but that we are unwilling to become. You are not waiting for the right moment. You are avoiding the inevitable one, the day when your potential demands everything from you, not just your talent, but your devotion, and you will either rise or rationalize. The eternal recurrence of excuses. Imagine this: you must live your exact life over and over again for eternity. Nietzsche's concept of eternal recurrence is not a metaphysical claim. It's a psychological test. If the choices you're making today had to be repeated forever, would you keep making them? Most people wouldn't, because most people are living by excuse. You say, "I'm too tired. I'm too late. It's too risky." But excuses are just fear with better marketing. And every time you obey them, you reinforce the saboteur. You give it voice. You give it power. You make it real. But what if today, not tomorrow, you acted as if this life were your only one? What if you made decisions that your future self would weep with gratitude for? What if you stopped recycling your pain and started sculpting your path, destroying the illusion of not ready? Here's the final lie of the saboteur. You're not ready. But readiness is a myth. It never arrives. It is always postponed, like a train that only exists on paper. You are not supposed to feel ready. You're supposed to move anyway. Nietzsche never waited. He wrote in madness, in solitude, in exile. He didn't wait for applause. He created because he had to, because the fire inside was louder than the fear. And now, it is your turn. Burn the scripts. Smash the clocks, kill the waiting, say the thing, do the work, make the leap. The saboteur will scream, let it. The ego will beg for safety. Deny it. The past will reach for your hand. Release it. Because the illusion of not ready dies the moment you act as if you are. And in that moment, you are. Why becoming your true self feels like death. Becoming sounds beautiful until it begins, until your habits collapse, until your friendships shift, until the mirrors you once trusted no longer reflect who you are. You think you're evolving, but to your psyche, you're dying. Nietzsche knew this agony. He called it the death of false gods, the shattering of inherited truths. When the old self disintegrates, something sacred is born. But first comes the darkness. It's not that you fear change. You fear vanishing. You fear waking up one day and realizing you no longer fit into the life you built from fear. But this fear is a sign, not that you're breaking it, but that the illusion is. Let it break. The collapse of your old persona. The persona, the mask you wear to survive, must die. It was useful. It got you here. It helped you belong, avoid pain, stay hidden. But now, it chokes you. Nietzsche despised persona-driven life. He believed it made cowards of men, always smiling, always compromising, always sacrificing truth for peace. You sabotage not because you're scared of failure, but because your persona can't survive success. It was never designed to. To become, you must betray your own mask. The people who loved your old self may grieve your evolution. Let them. You were not born to be consistent. You were born to transform. And that transformation requires a funeral, not just of what failed you, but of what protected you. Freedom beyond fear and approval. The two chains, fear and approval. Fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear of standing alone, approval from family, from peers, from strangers who don't even know you. Together, they trap you in a life that looks good on the outside and hollows you out on the inside. Nietzsche offered something radical: freedom through solitude, the courage to be misunderstood, the willingness to disappoint everyone except your future self. Real freedom is terrifying because once you stop living for approval, you lose your excuses. No one else to blame, no one else to appease, only your reflection, your fire, your work. This is the horror of freedom, but also its glory. You don't owe the world a mask. You owe the world your truth. Embracing the burden of your own light is not easy to carry. Once you wake up, you can't go back to sleep. Once you know your potential, you can no longer pretend to be average. Once you glimpse your power, mediocrity becomes unbearable, and this is the burden. Now, it's your responsibility. No more waiting, no more blaming, no more hiding behind wounds. Nietzsche called this burden the destiny of the overman, the one who creates new values, who stands alone at the peak of becoming, not because it's comfortable, but because someone has to go first. And maybe that someone is you. So let your light burn. Let it blind the ones who demand your smallness. Let it guide the ones still in the dark. You are not the echo of who you were. You are the voice of who you are becoming. Stop waiting for permission. You've waited long enough for a sign, for support, for the right time. But none of it is coming, because what you're waiting for is not external. It's you. Nietzsche believed that every great act begins with defiance, not of others, but of your own hesitation. You want to be free? Then stop asking for permission to be who you already are. No more shrinking to fit inside their expectations. No more apologizing for your fire. No more explaining your hunger to people addicted to safety. You do not need to be validated. You need to be unleashed. And the one who holds the key is you. The fierce peace of radical self-expression. There is a peace that does not come from stillness, but from alignment. When your inner world and your outer voice finally match, when you stop performing and start expressing, that kind of peace feels like fire, not water. It's fierce, uncomfortable, but honest. Nietzsche called this the great yes, the moment when you no longer live against yourself, when your actions echo your essence, when you are no longer pretending, surviving, obeying. You are creating art, creating boundaries, creating a life that tastes like you. And from that place, no one owns you, because you've returned to yourself. And in doing so, you've become unshakable. Your future self is calling, close your eyes. There is a version of you, fierce, clear, unapologetic, standing in the distance, watching, waiting, burning. They are not a fantasy, they are a future fact. And every decision you make is a step toward or away from them. Every time you speak your truth, they get louder. Every time you betray yourself, they fade. Nietzsche knew that time was a spiral, that you are already everything you need to become. The future isn't waiting for you, it's calling you. And your job isn't to become someone else. It's to stop being everything you're not. Answer the call. Walk through the fire. This is not inspiration. This is ignition. If you've felt something today, a burn in your chest, a clarity in your gut, don't let it fade. Walk through the fire. Do the thing you've been postponing. End the pattern you've been clinging to. Say the words you've been too afraid to speak. Build what only you can build. Because you don't fear failure. You fear your own limitlessness. But now, you've seen it, now you know, and once you've seen the truth, there is no unseeing it. So go, shatter the script, live like you are already free, become who you were always afraid to be. And if this message cracked open something in you, don't stop here. Watch the next one, write your own words, or just sit and breathe and begin. Your becoming isn't ahead of you, it's now.